Julie, are you ready to start? Oh, right. Well, he did say about to pop in and out. He's not feeling too well.
Yeah, he told me he's not well.
Yeah.
Doesn't even know if he deferred for half an hour. To call it, we need 4,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There's 5 including me, isn't there? You can include me for coordinates. Yeah. Yeah.
Full membership chair. Mr. Williams, are you well enough to be with us?
I'm sorry?
Are you well enough to be with us?
If you don't think I am, I'll go.
No. I'm just concerned for you.
Thank you for that. I never give in.
No, but it's a long meeting, and then you'll have to drive home. We're just concerned for you.
I understand.
Well, if you feel you need to leave at any time, Bernard, please do so. Don't worry about us. Your health's far more important than our meeting.
He's just been under his key fob. That's where he's just been today. He's just been sort of key fob over.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
It makes sense to look after yourself.
absolutely.
It does. I know it's right too, honestly.
Mm.
But there's times when it doesn't allow you to do it.
No.
Okay, we'll carry on. Wish Bernard all the very best. Sadly, we haven't got quantity today, but like I said to Anne-Marie, we've got quality here, so we take it as that you've got the best quality of the county council. Can we have the apologies, please, Julie?
Sorry, Chair. Apologies from Mr Hewitt, Ms Haddon, Mr Hutton, Mr Ford, Mr Ward, and I'll read to Mr Williams' apologies now, Chair, as well. And I understand the Vice Chair is hoping to join you by about 10:30.
Yes, that's right. Right, we'll kick off with any declaration of interest, please. Right, none. Agenda item 3, minutes of the meeting held on the 22nd of February 2022. Can someone approve those as a true record? Janice? Second by Angela. No problems. Thank you very much for that. Agenda item 4, external audit plan 2021-2022. A verbal update by our external auditors by teams. Go over to the gentleman on the screen.
Hello, thank you, Chair. So I'm Mark Russell, the audit manager. Hassan unfortunately has to send his apologies, he can't attend today. So I'm here today to provide the committee with a verbal update as to where we are with the 2021 Statement of Accounts audit and therefore the impact on 21-22 audits, which will cover actually both agenda items 4 and 5, if that's okay. So at the December committee, I understand that Hassan provided an update informing you that the 2021 audit sign-off would see some delay due to internal team issues and specifically sickness within the team. I am happy to say we have now recommenced, should I say, our 2021 audit and have a team working currently on the outstanding audit procedures through this week, and that will run to the first week of April. There is, however, a national issue that's been raised through the National Audit Office, which are the contract holders for your audit, along with the rest of the local government sector, and this issue is now sat with SIPFA. So the issue relates to the treatment and derecognition of capital expenditure, specifically within infrastructure assets held by councils, and could potentially impact all local authority bodies that hold material infrastructure assets on their balance sheet. So officers within the council are aware of this issue, and we and officers are awaiting the outcome of SIPFA's considerations and their determination as to how to resolve the issue, which may lead to an adaptation to the SIPFA Code of Practice, or it could lead to further work being required by officers to determine the impact of the issue on infrastructure assets in the council's financial statements, and that would be for the 2021 accounts along with 21-22 accounts. And depending on that determination by SIPFA, that could lead to additional work from ourselves in regards to audit testing over the work the council has done to address those issues. So as such, our final audit opinion sign-off in regards to a sign-off date for the 2021 audits for the council and the pension fund is dependent on when SIPFA can provide their outcome of their considerations, and then the time for officers and us to respond to any additional work required from that SIPFA determination. So therefore, in regards to 21-22 for both the council and pension fund, these audits can't commence until we finish 2021 audits. So again, these are dependent on the timing of the SIPFA determination in regard to this infrastructure asset issue. So that was quite a brief update of where we are on the audit process for those years. As I say, that covers both agenda items 4 and 5, but I am happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thank you for the verbal update. We've still got no date for that, see when you're going to be ready with the previous audit, previous year.
So we should have completed our work sort of mid-April, but it depends on the timing of SIPFA's consideration. So the main work for the standard audit process, shall we say, will be finished mid-April. If SIPFA can opine on their decision before that, and we can complete the work around it on the infrastructure assets, then we'd be looking at that sort of mid to late April. But clearly, if SIPFA don't come back with their conclusions until later, they'll push back the sign-off.
Could we have a draft plan for 21-22, please?
We could look at that, but once we've completed the work for 2021.
Okay, thank you. Anybody got any questions? Yes, Janice?
Thank you, Chair. The first part was already asked about the clarification on the time frame. I wondered if there was any indication when it comes to these things. And I appreciate it's to do with the CapEx and SIPFA, but if there's any sort of previous examples that we've got some indication of the length of time. And also, can you just clarify, does that mean then that it's all local authorities that are being impacted by it, not just here? Thank you.
Fine. So I'll take the last bit first. So it could impact all local authorities, so it depends on the how much infrastructure assets they hold on their balance sheet, and so the first, I guess, determination for local authorities is, do they have a material balance of infrastructure held on their balance sheet, and then sort of cutting down to the next level would be, what is the materiality of any capital expenditure in the current year for 2021 or 21-22 going into the next year. So yes, it could impact all local authorities. In terms of, sorry, what was the beginning part of your question? I do apologise.
No, that's
escaped
fine.
me.
Yeah, given the nature of the query that's gone on to SIPFA, if there's anything that we can use as a comparison to try and give us some type of best guess, an educated guess, possibly, on how long it could take.
So it depends on what where SIPFA land with an answer. So if it's a code adaptation, so the code is what drives what the contents of your statement accounts. So if it's an adaptation of the code, essentially removing the issue, for lack of a better term, that would be a lot quicker process than if they determined that the council, and therefore we'd have to do some testing on top of that, would need to go back and analyse the capital expenditure over the past couple of years. That would take longer because it would entail obviously officers doing work. Code adaptations, I'm trying to think of an example. They can take a few weeks, but they can take longer. So history has shown I don't think there's a standard time frame for those sorts of adaptations, I'm afraid.
Yeah, just to support then the request for the draft plan. If we think it's going to be that length of time, then I think that I would support the request for the draft plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a sort of a rather unsatisfactory situation we're in, but unfortunately the times are what we're in, I'm afraid. But thank you for the update, Mark, anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Anybody got any questions for Mark? No. Thank you very much for your time, anyway.
Thank you.
Carry on getting us up to date as quickly as possible, please.
Will do.
Thank you. Agenda item 6 then, really. That's over to you, Lisa. Review of the effectiveness of the Audit and Standards Committee. Not many of us, so we're not very effective today, but there we are.
Thank you, Chairman. So this actually, this particular paper builds on the work that the previous Audit and Standards Committee undertook during 2018/19 to benchmark practice against the SITFA code for the operation of local authorities, audit committees. So we did a detailed self-assessment against both of the appendices, again, which are attached to this particular report, to ensure that we met the standards that were required and identified a number of recommendations to improve. Those recommendations were tracked, and in March 19 we also reported back. One of the key recommendations arising from that particular assessment was in relation to the suggested guidance from SITFA regarding the appointment of independent members, panel members, subject experts that attend the Audit and Standards Committee to bring additional knowledge regarding the financial arrangements within councils, etc. We did do a exercise as well where we looked at practice within other local authorities at that particular point in time, and I did bring a paper forward to a previous member at meeting of the Audit and Standards Committee to look at how they'd approached this, whether or not they'd appointed an independent member, what the terms of reference for that individual would be, what their powers were, etc. And that came through. And at that point in time, it was agreed that we would not take anything forward at that specific moment, but we would keep a watching brief, and we would keep an overview of recommended practice from SITFA. Nothing to date has come forward previously from SITFA, although their guidance for Audit and Standards Committees are due to be updated in the near future. So we'll see how that particular topic progresses. So in relation to the two action plans that you have attached to the report, the first one, Appendix 1, deals with the self-assessment of good practice, whereby we look at the role and the remit of the Audit and Standards Committee and ensure that we meet that where necessary. Key points to note for this assessment, at paragraph 9 on page 7, we did highlight last time that an annual report of the work of the Audit and Standards Committee needed to be produced and then reported through to full council. The first year of that particular annual report was produced in April 21, and that came to the April 21 Audit and Standards Committee. But given that the fact that we were moving into elections, that particular one did not go to full council because it was the end of that political cycle. However, it is intended for the forward plan to include that annual report, and that the chairman takes that forward to full council to give an oversight and an overview of the work of this particular committee to the wider membership of the council. Paragraph B at 9B talks about no further action regarding the recruitment of the independent member until guidance is amended. And also at C, the need to consider the use of the audit committee members' knowledge and skills framework for members to identify areas that they would like additional training in order to be able to discharge their duties on this particular committee. So they were the key aspects that came out of Appendix 1 update. In terms of Appendix 2, that talks about evaluating the effectiveness of the audit committee. So are we being effective in the work of this particular committee? So reviewing the assessments and going through, as well, just to mention, any key changes have been highlighted in yellow for members' reference. The key element, really just to bring to your attention as part of this briefing, relates to the details that we actually got from PASA regarding the quality of our external auditors. We did do that previously, and I think it's now time to refresh that and to gain that assurance that our external auditors are operating effectively. Obviously, we're aware of the challenges that they're facing at the moment, and Mark's updated just in relation to the challenges that he's got regarding the closure of the 2021 and the preparation of the 21-22 external audit plan. So that's everything that I wanted to refer to today as part of this update. But to bring to your attention and for your approval, the self-assessment documentation, and to highlight if there are any additional comments or additions to this particular document that you want me to record within the self-assessment. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
I know, I think it might be, mightn't it? Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for the highlighting of the reports. I think that's so helpful when you're trying to go through, especially what potentially could be a lengthy document. Just with regards to the ones where they're partly met, is there any specific time frame that you're looking at trying to, or is it an ongoing basis? I appreciate the content of some of those. I think number 8 in particular is an annual evaluation, but just if there's a time frame to that. And Chair, I think it would be remiss of me not to mention, I find this particular committee meeting an extremely insightful one, and to give us a picture of a broad brush of a lot of the things that are happening within the council and within the organisation. The lack of membership present today could be due to a variety of reasons, and I'm not going to take any assumptions of those, but I think it's also an opportunity when we look at the composition that we can look at bringing the skill set and the people to make sure that it is an effective and impactful committee, I think would be my statement that I would like to make. It's a statement, not a question on that part. Thank you.
I think it's very difficult for Lisa to evaluate the effectiveness of the audit committee on Appendix 2. When you look at those items there, it's extremely difficult. I mean, it does say no evidence can be found that the audit committee has supported improvements in this area. So it's all about being perceptive, I think, and I think Lisa is the right person to be doing that, and I thank her for the report. I think that's about it. Lisa, would you like to say anything else?
Just in terms of Thank you. Yes, in terms of the time frame, this is a watching brief, and it's about taking forward those steps that will allow us to fully implement those particular areas. I would recommend that we next assess ourselves in 12 months' time as well, so we can have a look at those to see how they've moved on at that particular committee.
With that, thank you, Lisa. That brings on to the forward plan, really, which you to go through. Is there any, if members have looked at the forward plan, has any member got anything they'd like to add to that forward plan? Lisa, would you like to just go through it roughly?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, the next meeting is scheduled for the 26th of April. We have had quite a few meetings quite close together because we've got a lot on the agenda, and it's also ensuring that you get a chance to consider those audit reports that come through as well. So a request was brought in to increase the number of meetings in order to be able to deal with the business that was coming through. Next time, on the 26th of April, we'll have the annual report. We'll also have the annual report on the information governance service as well, that comes through from the Director of Corporate Services regarding information governance. We'll also have the internal audit plan for 22-23, which Debbie will bring through following approval by the corporate county treasurer and also SLT, and then any limited audit reports as well. In terms of moving forward, at the 26th of April meeting, I'll also bring forward the forward plan for the following 12 months through the next civic cycle. That's everything I wanted to say, really.
Questions to Lisa after that brief summary? Right, again, many thanks, Lisa, for your very effective introduction. Right, that brings us to exclusion of the public. So I'd just like to I'd like to thank our friend in the corner for attending a very short meeting. I'm sorry there's not as many here perhaps who could have asked more questions, but thanks for coming. Right, that the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business which involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in the paragraphs of Part 1 of Schedule 12A as amended of the Local Government Act 1972 as indicated below. Thank you. If you let me know when the broadcast is finished, please.